Leaders from around the world have spoken out against Vladimir Putin's decision to invade Ukraine this week, and Michigan's congressional delegation is among them. The Rundown caught up with Republican Congressman John Moolenaar, and this is his take on the situation and how he thinks the president is handling it so far.
Vladimir Putin is trying to reestablish the old Soviet Union, and we need a strong effort to deter any aggression. It's something where we've been working to arm the Ukrainian people. We want to send help both from a humanitarian standpoint as well as a military standpoint, lethal aid, and send a strong message from around the world that these kinds of actions will be condemned. We need to make sure that these Russian aggressions are not without consequences. It has impact for other NATO countries that surround the area, for the Baltic states, as well as when you consider China is watching, North Korea is watching.
How do you see this all playing out? Do you see Putin pulling back, or is he going to continue to push forward and test his boundaries here?
I mean, not since Adolf Hitler have we seen this kind of naked aggression in Europe. This is something that the world community needs to speak with one voice, and hopefully he'll come to his senses. If not, it's only military deterrence, the loss of Russian lives that will deter him. And even then, he's not accountable to anyone.
How do you think the president's handling it so far?
Well, I think he sent mixed messages when he said minor incursions wouldn't be a big deal. And, the policy on energy, where we've allowed Putin, by taking off the sanctions of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, we've sent a message that we're allowing Putin to do these things. It's been the wrong policy. I support the sanctions. They need to be tough and strong. We need to get military aid to the Ukraine leadership as quickly as possible. And so he's been slow on the draw. I do believe Putin has been testing this regime. He watched the failure of the withdrawal in Afghanistan and the debacle that was, and he senses weakness and he's exploiting this. And, I think with President Trump in the White House, he did not sense that weakness. He sensed a resolve. So I do think he's exploiting the weakness he senses with our president.
Michigan Democratic Congresswoman Slotkin also weighed in on Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
I hope there's more in the pipeline and that they're stronger and that they go after not just sectors of the Russian economy, but actual oligarchs, like the pals and friends of Vladimir Putin, their wives, their mistresses, their houses in London, all of that stuff. I hope to see that. Putin basically has, sort of 50 or 100 kind of rich folks around him who we know, he listens to and he cares about. And they all have homes in London, homes in Paris. They lead this very wealthy lifestyle. Many of them are billionaires. Their wives and their mistresses fly to Paris to get their hair cut, and we want to make things uncomfortable for them. If they're going to enable Putin to do what he's doing, literally invading another country, then we're going to make it difficult for the richest Russians around him. And that's what I'm looking to see, is like hit him where it hurts a little bit more than we have. And then in terms of forestalling invasion, the Biden administration clearly took an approach where they were declassifying a ton of intelligence to try and shame Vladimir Putin, expose what he was doing, and stop invasion. And I think that was unprecedented amounts of classified information. I'm not used to seeing that much declassified as a former CIA officer, but obviously didn't stop Putin. He has a very different calculus. He gave a kind of crazy speech a couple of nights ago. So the history books will have to tell us whether additional sanctions would have actually stopped him before invasion, and now we just have to have an extremely strong, robust response. This is not a man who would have been dissuaded by a couple of things here or there. He has a vision for reviving the Russian Empire and relitigating who won the Cold War. I mean, really big stuff, like legacy stuff, So I'm not sure if anything would have deterred him from going into Ukraine. I've seen the former president and others come out and say Putin is a genius and lauding him. And I cannot understand it as someone who's a national security professional and just an American, right? I mean, why are we lauding and celebrating Vladimir Putin when he wants to rewrite history and say he didn't win the Cold War? I mean, that to me is hard to understand. Serious professionals from both sides of the aisle understand that it's not just about Russia, it's also about China, right? Making sure China sees a robust response, making sure they see that the United States can still agree enough between Democrats and Republicans to have a robust response. I think that they are both looking to each other to say, hey, in this next decade, this next century, what can we do to diminish the role of the United States and take a stronger leadership role in the world? And obviously the one that really affects us in Michigan, really affects the United States more than anything, is the Chinese, right? The Chinese want to be the leaders of the next century. They want our kids to work at Chinese companies, not American companies. They don't want us to have the ability to sail our ships and get our products from China and have a grip over it when they want to sort of starve us out. And I just can't support that. So while Russia feels to a lot of people why are we getting involved? Well, it's not just about Russia. Every would-be autocrat is looking at an American response right now and deciding how aggressive they want to be in the next decade.
Our coverage on the Ukraine crisis continues next. This time, we're hearing from our senators what they say the U.S. needs to do next.